Hey everybody, it's Jen. Hope you're enjoying your pajama pants class so far. I can't wait to see the final result with your pockets and everything in there. So what I want you guys to do between now and the next class is to print out and assemble your PDF pattern. You will get an email for that. Both files will include all of the sizes and your instructions. So what we're going to talk about is which pattern pieces to assemble and how to find them on your map, which I'll talk about in a second. But also to prepare you for the class, we want you to have your pattern pieces assembled the right way for your size. And we're gonna do it based on your bust measurement this time. So straight around the body, parallel to the ground like we did for your hips, but this time you're gonna do it at the bust, and I'll show you how to do that. The second thing you're gonna need to do to prepare for class is to have your fabric cut out. We did practice this and we did do it in class for the pajama pants. The thing to remember about this is, number one, grain line is really important. And number two, try to save your fabric. So I'm going to take this pattern piece here. This is the sleeve pattern for the shirt you guys will be making. And you will see that it has a grain line mark down the center of it here. This is page 1 of your pattern file, okay? This is page 1, and this is going to be important to remember when we talk about which pages to print for the rest of your garment. The main pieces you're going to need are pieces 2 and piece 3, right? And I'm just going to trace that shape so that I know exactly what pages to print out. Okay, so that is my, looks like it's the top front. I also need piece number 3, so that's the shape here. And if you want to do the sleeve version, then go ahead and print out the sleeve. So that's the shape here, piece number 8. Now there's some other pieces here that you may or may not want. That would be the hemband in the blouse itself. So there's a couple of varieties of hemband. Depending on the look that you want, you can choose from a skinny little band, which is version A, kind of a mid-length band, which is C, or something a little bit thicker, which is D or B, okay? So you'll have to find out which one of those goes for the style that you want. The pocket piece is completely optional, but if you do want it, it's right here. If you feel like you don't want to waste paper to print that out, that's fine too. We can just draft you one really easily and quickly in class. So those are the main pieces you're going to need. Okay, now you definitely need the blouse pieces, which means you have to print out these pieces. Oops, sorry, not 10, that's the sleeve. So 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 19, 20, 21. Ooh. So this bleeds into page 16, so we need that. We need 22, 28, 27, all right. So those are the main pieces for the blouse. If you also want to cut out the sleeve, you're going to need to print out these pages. And then of course, if you want the bands, print out those and the pockets. So you might be better off printing everything, or if you want to save paper, print just what you need. Now page 1 is the first page, this guy, which means page 2 is the first pattern piece. So this is page 2, this would be page 3, this would be page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8 would be the first one that you're going to print out. So if you are able to set your printer settings to say, all right, I just want to print out page 8, don't print out page 7, it will print out that one. Print out page 8. So the moral of the story is, take the page number that you want to print out and add a 1 to it, and then tell your printer to print that page. Hope that made sense. Rewind it if it didn't. So essentially you're going to be printing out page 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. That would be this row. So pages 8 through 13 is this row. Page 14 through 19 is this row. Page 20 to 25 is that row. And 26 to 31 is the final row. Okay? Print all those out. And then when you're ready to assemble it, here's what you're gonna do. I'm using pages 24 and 25. Okay, so this is page 24 and 25. You'll notice that there are these aligning symbols here, all right? So the way these work is that that little plus sign, there's this long line here, there's a diamond here, and a line in the middle. So that whole bullseye is what you're gonna match up to the other bullseye. The easiest way to do that I found is to just fold it back to that line, okay? And then align that with the other symbol on the page that it attaches to, okay? So you should be perfectly lined up like so if you've done it right. Hope you can see that, okay? And then you'll want to tape it together. Finally, here's your pattern piece for your sleeve, okay? Notice that we have a curve going on here. So just like we did with our pajama pants where we had the crotch curve, you're going to snip little wedges into that curve and you're gonna fold back to your size. So for example, this is small, sorry, extra small, small, medium. If I were to make the small, I would just fold each of those little wedges back to that size. There's a notch, we will remember that from last time. Okay, and then just do that all the way around. Okay, now we're gonna talk about layout. So I have my fabric laid out flat, mostly ironed. Here's my selvage, here's the other selvage, and they're pretty well stacked. I'm happy with that. Make sure your selvage is stacked. Make sure everything's flat and there are no wrinkles or puckers in your fabric. Now I'm gonna lay down my pattern piece. Here's my grain line, and I'm gonna mark that with a marker so it's easier for you guys to see. Also notice that whoever made this pattern, I don't know if you can see this, but the grain line doesn't quite match up, and that is gonna be really important. So pay attention to that when you assemble your own pattern. Now, to remind you about this, don't forget that this and that should be like railroad tracks, okay? And I'm gonna just measure from my grain line to my selvage, totally arbitrary, right? Easiest if you get a whole number. Oh my gosh, I am right on the money at 12 inches. Okay, so I'm 12 inches there. I should be 12 inches here, and I'm not, I'm off just a little bit. So I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna move my tape measure to the edge of my fabric, pivot my pattern until it hits 12 inches, weigh it down there, 12 inches, measure again. I moved it, so it's a little bit off, so I'm gonna pivot it this way. I'm 12 inches there. Now I'm 12 inches. And always measure twice, right? 12 inches. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that is laying out. I'm gonna weigh it down, and I'm going to pin. Just a friendly reminder about pinning. You are pinning inside the paper. Try to keep your hand on top as much as possible. Also, whenever you encounter a notch, you're gonna wanna pin it in your way so that you know what to do there. All right? So please have your pattern assembled and your fabric cut out for class for next week. You're gonna need generally 2 yards, but here is the yardage chart, which you will find in your instruction pack. And the most you're gonna need is 2 yards for view B, that's like the tunic length, okay? And if you want the contrast is the hem band. So 2 5/8. So 5/8 of a yard of one color and 2 yards of another is the most you're gonna need for this project, okay? You're gonna wanna get a suitable fabric, so something that is directional is fine as long as you are paying attention to how you lay your pattern out. You want a woven cotton, you want linen or rayon is fine. It's a little tougher to work with, but something that's lightweight, right? Don't get anything that's stretchy, so knit out of the question. Please don't get knit, just get something that's woven and does not stretch. The final thing you need to remember when you are cutting out your pattern out of your fabric is this little symbol right here. This is a double-headed arrow that's bent, and you'll notice that it says center back on fold. So this is the back of the bodice. So this is your center back. This line here, this printed line, not the cut paper line, but the actual printed line, needs to be stacked right on top the fold of your fabric. So let me just demonstrate what that's going to look like. This obviously wasn't cut properly. So I'm just going to trim this back a little bit so that I'm getting just the printed line, because where you cut your paper is arbitrary, right? But the print is deliberate. So the printed line has been scientifically engineered to make sure that you have the right size, yeah? Okay, so that's close enough for government work. So here is my center back line. I'm going to place that line directly on the fold of my fabric. So let me just show you that. This is indeed folded, open like that, fold it back. This is exactly how it came off the bolt. You might want to make sure that your selvages are also stacked up. The selvage is the most reliably straight part of your fabric, not to say that it's perfectly straight, but it's certainly more straight, more reliable than the fold that you get when this comes off the bolt. You may also want to press it. You certainly want to wash this fabric before you turn it into your garment. If you don't wash your fabric beforehand, it's no big deal. Just always remember to wash that particular fabric in cold water and then let it hang dry. Okay, so here is my pattern. Here's my center back on fold line. That is going to go right there. So when it says on the fold, it doesn't mean near the fold, it means on the fold. And so you are literally stacking that up. Now, one super important thing to remember, like this is crazy important, is that this symbol should remind you that you're placing it on the fold, not cutting the fold. And so to help you remember that, I'm gonna draw a half heart around that. So remember back in the day when you were cutting out Valentine's hearts out of paper, you were instructed to put a little drawing of half a heart, right, on the fold of your paper, and you only cut half of that out so that when you open it up, you have a full heart that is symmetric on both sides. That's the same idea with this symbol here, is that not only does it cut your, no pun intended, cut your cutting time in half because you're only cutting half of it, but the result is that you get two mirror image sides, a symmetrical garment. And so that is what you want to go for. Now, the back of your bodice has this symbol, the front of your bodice has this symbol, the hemband patterns have that symbol. The sleeve pattern does not, and that's because your sleeve is not symmetric. So keep that in mind as you're cutting. So as you pin and cut this, you're only going to cut around the outside shape of your blouse. Do not cut this fold, right? And if you have any questions, I'll see you in the studio for open studio hours. Have a great week. See you guys soon.